Was it? Some of it was spectacular, some of it was sophomoric. One thing that it proved, the Mandalorian Grogu, it served as a kind of spiritual equivalent of a defibrillator where it was resuscitating that which was on its way to death. The Star Wars, you got to think of it in terms of the likes of Stan Lee and Walt Disney, George Lucas. There are things that are great substance that were part of the original source material that had been messed up by evil doers. Just putting it in those terms, where automatic writing had come in. For instance, in the case of the Star Wars legacy, the older parts of the legacy, this thing about the Force and how it relates to God's true force, summoning that force. May the Force be with you and live through you and in you. The true force, right? The likeness, the archetype, the similitude, and it just being thrown to the trash heap of yesteryear, as it were. And in this film, what's been essentially shown when the defibrillator, it was used like a defibrillator, it was as if George Lucas, who still owns Lucasfilm, who still were part of, all at the same time, mind you, the spectacular special effects that you'll see in the movie, creature effects, sound effects, all showing glimpses of when it first came out, how incredible it was. And some of it looked lazy or rushed. There are such a heavy amount of special effects in this film. I bet even getting it across the finish line, they could have used a few more months to be certain to get it done absolutely flawlessly. This was not. But with that said, it did show traces of, number one, first and foremost, I did catch on the credits, right at the very top, was that accursed tool for the enemy operatives, Kathleen Kennedy, promoting the multiple pronoun Star Wars universe. I can't even bring myself to think about it because it didn't exist with George Lucas. It was all pushed to push an agenda, to force feed it to you, and I was not having anything to do with it. Neither there nor in the Star Trek universe either. And her credit came up as when this show first, I guess, was given the green light, but she was bounced out of the project altogether. I'm glad to report. And so when they made this film, I could see, even without being told literally, I couldn't find an actual quote from good old George, but where it was, all right, no more woke, no more selective outrage. Let's just play with this little pet project that Disney has relented, perhaps reluctantly so, the true power, evil powers, the emperor that hides behind the scenes, as it were, not unlike Star Wars, among them those who work for BlackRock and State Street. The Georgie going, well, let's see what we still got in this thing, in this rusted automobile, as it were. Let's see what kind of life hack we can blend and breathe life back into it after God Almighty gave the world, for instance, in Star Wars, and you can imagine these big things to the whole world, given as a gift, right, into somebody, a human vessel, and then to be poured out in this direction to bless so many people thereafter, so they can start thinking about the Force and what does that exactly mean, and also the forces of evil. So George, probably with the creative team of Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, going, well, we've got the Mandalorian Grogu, big hit on Disney streaming for the TV. Grogu, this really isn't a spoiler, really plays an important role in the movie, but the challenge for the creators is that Grogu doesn't speak. So Grogu nods, shakes his head, taps on people, uses the Force. And it's the first time we really got to see why he's related to Yoda. It's in the DNA of the individual, of the species, as it were, to show signs of that. The creators have him working throughout the film, but sometimes the film falters because there's this one scene where a segment of the film that lasts in excess, it felt like, of 10 minutes where there was no dialogue. There was no dialogue. It was just relying upon Grogu, his movements. And that was long. And they could have cut a lot of that, if you ask me. But they indulged the directors and the creators. And one of the things that happens afterwards, and it's the only time that the famous catchphrase is used in the movie. So imagine the pregnant pause of the silence featuring Grogu leading up to the catchphrase. That's essentially it. It's about halfway into the movie, where then the Mandalorian, who the challenge with him is that he hardly is allowed to take off his mask. So this is a character that is always, it's part of the Jedi code, as it were, or the mercenary code, the bounty hunter code in Star Wars is better said, that he cannot take his mask off. It's a lifelong oath. And of course, they find a way to take it off, and I won't tell you how that happens, but it's only brief. So the majority of the time he's with that on. And the catchphrase occurs when he's back to his senses. Something happens to him, and then he uses the catchphrase. And I feel because it's the only time it's used, and because it's the famous catchphrase, "I am the way," that it is pretty important. I think you'd agree once you see it. He tells his sidekick, Grogu, "The young are here to serve the old." And, in the same sentence, and no pause, "and the old are here to serve the young. That is the way." And it was like a revelation had dawned on him at that moment. It wasn't like he had, the character, I'm just saying, had premeditated saying that. And it had been said before in all the episodes from the different seasons of The Mandalorian. But then for him to say that, he sort of arrived at that moment. It was like forget the word. Speaking of, but it was where a light bulb went on in his head. An epiphany is the word I was looking for. And it was a cool moment. But sometimes the effects failed what they experimented at. I really felt like it was George Lucas telling Industrial Light and Magic, his team, play around, see what works, see what doesn't work, let's roll it out, come what may. And for the most part, it's good, very entertaining. It opens the door for new adventures, new paths, certainly new video games, certainly new. You could see this being worked out through the movie. How can we turn this into a ride? How can we turn this into an experience at Disney? But I will say very family friendly. And overall, good, not great. I'm gonna be straight here with all y'all. So still right now, the front runner of, if you're gonna have money to splurge to see a movie, The Sheep Detectives at the front. Next week, among the films to be released, Masters of the Universe, The Archetype, Sword of the Spirit. Lord, please don't let it stink. Please don't let the movie blow it. Please stick to the forces of good versus a clearly delineated Skeletor forces of evil. Have yourself a good day. I'll see you at the movies. Batman out.